The morning sun rose over New Busan like it had for the past 20 years. The golden light touched the vast wheat fields that stretched across the planet's surface. Children ran to school while their parents prepared for another day of farming. Nobody knew this would be their last peaceful morning. Governor Tae-ho Kim stood on his office balcony, drinking coffee and watching the city wake up. New Busan was his pride. What started as a bare rock floating in space had become home to 2.3 million humans. They had built farms, schools, hospitals, and families. The planet fed 12 other human colonies across this sector of space. "Governor, we have a problem," said Ji-woo Park, rushing into the office. She was the colony's defense coordinator, a former Earth military officer who kept their small defense network running. Her face was pale with worry. Tae-ho turned from the window. "What is it?" "Long-range sensors picked up a fleet. Big one. They're heading straight for us." Ji-woo activated the holographic display in the center of the room. Red dots appeared in space, moving toward their green dot that represented New Busan. Tae-ho counted the dots. 50 ships, maybe more. "Who are they, pirates?" "No, sir. The signatures match Velcran hegemony ships, military vessels." Ji-woo's voice was tight. Everyone knew about the Velcrans. They were an alien race that had been expanding aggressively for decades. They believed they owned large parts of this galaxy. "Try to contact them," Tae-ho ordered. "Maybe there's been a mistake." For the next 6 hours, Ji-woo sent message after message to the approaching fleet. She used every diplomatic channel, every emergency frequency. The Velcran ships ignored them all. They just kept coming. The fleet finally answered when they were only 2 hours away from New Busan's orbit. The communication screen flickered to life, showing the reptilian face of a Velcran commander. His scales were dark green, and his eyes glowed red in the dim light of his ship's bridge. "I am Fleet Commander Thekvar of the Velcran hegemony," the alien said. His voice sounded like gravel grinding together. "You humans have illegally occupied Velcran ancestral territory. You will evacuate immediately or face the consequences." Governor Tae-ho stepped forward. "Commander Thekvar, there must be some mistake. Humans have had legal claim to this system for over 50 years. The Galactic Council approved our settlement. We have all the proper documents." The Velcran's eyes narrowed. "Your human documents mean nothing. This world belonged to the Velcran, people long before your species learned to build ships. You have 1 hour to begin evacuation." 1 hour. Tae-ho couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Commander, we have 2.3 million people here. Even if we wanted to leave, it would take months to evacuate everyone. Please, let's talk about this. There has to be a solution that works for both our peoples." Thekvar showed his sharp teeth in what might have been a smile. "There is. You leave or you die. 1 hour, human." The screen went black. Ji-woo was already at her control station, her fingers flying over the controls. "Governor, I'm activating all our defenses. But sir," she looked up with fear in her eyes. "We have 12 defense satellites and a few patrol ships. They have 50 military vessels." Tae-ho nodded grimly. "Do what you can. I'll start emergency evacuations." He opened the colony-wide communication channel. "This is Governor Kim. We are facing an immediate military threat. All citizens should move to the nearest emergency shelter immediately. This is not a drill." Across New Busan, families grabbed their children and ran for the underground bunkers. Min-ho Lee, an engineer who worked on the power systems, was at home with his wife and 2 young children when the announcement came. He quickly gathered his family and headed for the shelter in their neighborhood, but Min-ho had another job to do. As they ran, he told his wife, "Take the children to the bunker. I have to activate the emergency beacon." "Min-ho, no," his wife cried. "Come with us. If something happens to us, Earth needs to know. I'm the only one who can send the message." He kissed her and his children. "I'll be right behind you." The attack began 58 minutes after Thekvar's ultimatum. The Velcran ships opened fire on New Busan's defense satellites first. The small human weapons tried to fight back, but it was like children throwing rocks at tanks. Within 10 minutes, All of New Busan's defenses were destroyed. Jiwoo Park stood at her post in the defense center, watching her screens go dark one by one. Satellites 1 through 12 are gone, she reported to Governor Kim. The orbital stations are not responding. Enemy ships are entering atmosphere. Through the windows of the defense center, they could see the Velcran ships descending through the clouds. They looked like giant metal insects, dark and angular. Some headed for the cities, others for the farms and industrial areas. The first landing craft touched down in the main city square. The doors opened and Velcran soldiers poured out. They were tall and heavily armored, carrying weapons that glowed with purple energy. Their leader was War Captain Zethmore, a scarred veteran who had conquered worlds before. Secure all human population centers, Zethmore ordered his troops. Standard occupation protocol, no survivors. The Velcran soldiers moved through the streets, methodically. They kicked down doors and fired their weapons at anyone they found. Families hiding in their homes were dragged out and killed. Children crying for their parents were silenced forever. At the emergency shelters, human security forces tried to fight back with their simple weapons. But the Velcrans had better armor, better guns, and no mercy. One by one, the shelters fell. Min-ho Lee reached the communication center just as the first Velcran soldiers entered his neighborhood. He could hear the screaming and gunfire behind him. His hands shook as he activated the emergency quantum beacon, a device designed to send a message across space faster than any ship could travel. "This is New Busan Colony," he spoke into the recorder as explosions shook the building. "We are under attack by Velcran forces. They are killing everyone. Governor Kim is dead. Defense Coordinator Park is dead. The colony is lost." The building's doors burst open. Velcran soldiers stormed in, their weapons raised. "Tell Earth," Min-ho continued even as the aliens aimed at him. "Tell them what happened here. Tell them to remember us." The weapons fired. Min-ho Lee died, but his message was already racing through space toward Earth. The massacre continued for 3 days. When it was over, New Busan was silent. The wheat fields burned. The cities lay in ruins. Of the 2.3 million humans who had called this world home, only 8 out of 47 survived, hidden deep in the most secure bunkers. One of them was Hyejin Choi, a teacher who had been visiting the deep mining facility when the attack began. She emerged after the Velcran ships left to find a world of ash and death. She walked through the ruins of her school, seeing the empty desks where her students once sat. The Velcrans were gone, satisfied with their message. They had shown the galaxy what happened to humans who dared to settle in Velcran space. They expected the other human colonies to pack up and leave quietly. They were wrong. 2 weeks after the massacre, Min-ho Lee's message arrived at Earth. It traveled through the quantum communication network, jumping from relay station to relay station across the galaxy. When it reached the solar system, it went straight to the desk of Fleet Admiral Da-Yun Song at Stellar Defense Command. Admiral Song was reviewing routine patrol reports when her aide, Lieutenant Jin-Woo Yoon, rushed into her office. His face was white with shock. "Admiral, you need to see this immediately," he said, placing a secure data pad on her desk. Song looked up from her work. She had been running Earth's space defenses for 15 years and had seen many crisis reports. But something about Jin-Woo's expression told her this was different. She activated the data pad and listened to Min-ho Lee's final message. As the recording played, her coffee grew cold. When it ended, she sat in silence for a full minute. "How many confirmed dead?" she asked quietly. "Over 2 million, Admiral. Only a few hundred survivors found so far." Song's jaw tightened. She had visited New Busan 5 years ago. She remembered the children playing in the parks, the proud farmers showing off their crops, the hope in everyone's eyes as they built their new world. "Get me President Kang, Governor Nam on Mars, and Minister Han on Luna. Emergency session in 1 hour. "Yes, Admiral, should I tell them what it's about?" "Tell them it's time." 1 hour later, the most powerful humans in the solar system gathered in the secure conference room deep beneath Geneva. President Wu Jin-Kang sat at the head of the table, his usual calm expression replaced by cold anger. Mars Governor Jun Ki, Nam attended by hologram, as did Luna Defense Minister So Young-han. Admiral Song played the message from New Busan. When it finished, the room was silent, except for the hum of air recyclers. President Kang spoke first. How do we know this is accurate? Reconnaissance drones confirmed it yesterday, Song replied. New Busan is gone. The entire planet has been burned. We found mass graves where they dumped the bodies. Governor Nam's hologram flickered with his anger. Those monsters, how many ships did they use? About 50 vessels. Standard Velcron military formation. Song pulled up a star chart. The attack was led by Fleet Commander Thekvar. Our intelligence files show he's done this before to other species. Minister Han leaned forward. What's Earth's official response going to be? President Kang looked around the table. That depends on what our capabilities are. Admiral Song, give me the real numbers. Song touched her control pad. The room's walls came alive with holographic displays showing ship counts, weapon specifications, and fleet positions. The numbers were staggering. Mr. President, for 50 years we've been building in secret. While the galaxy thinks we're peaceful, traders with a few patrol ships, we've actually constructed the largest military force in galactic history. The displays showed massive shipyards hidden beneath Earth's oceans, on the far side of Luna, and in the asteroid belt. Automated factories had been building warships around the clock for decades. Total fleet strength, Song continued, is 500,000 dreadnoughts, each one more advanced than anything the Velcrans have. Supporting them are 2 million destroyers, 8 million frigates, and countless support vessels. Governor Nam's eyes widened. 500,000? I knew we were building ships, but I had no idea the scale was so massive. The Titan shipyards alone have been producing 1 dreadnought every 6 hours for the past 20 years, Song explained. Chief Engineer Dong Hyun Yoon estimates we could build another 1 million ships within 2 years if needed. President Kang studied the numbers. What about weapons technology? How do we compare to the Velcrons? We're generations ahead of them, Song said with satisfaction. While they still use plasma cannons and particle beams, we've developed quantum tunneling, weapons that can punch through any known armor. Our singularity cannons can collapse matter at the subatomic level. She highlighted another section of the display. More importantly, we have full artificial intelligence integration. Every human ship can process battlefield data and execute combat maneuvers faster than any biological brain can think. Minister Han looked troubled. Why all the secrecy? Why didn't we tell the galaxy about our real strength? Because peaceful civilizations last longer than aggressive ones, President Kang replied. We've watched dozens of species destroy themselves through constant warfare. We chose a different path. Let them think we're weak merchants while we built the tools to protect ourselves. Admiral Song nodded. The Velcrans made the same mistake that many others have made. They saw our merchant ships, our diplomatic missions, our peaceful colonies, and assumed we were helpless. Well, they're about to learn differently, Governor Nam said grimly. President Kang stood and walked to the star chart. Admiral Song, I'm authorizing Operation Righteous Thunder. How long do you need to prepare? Song had been waiting for this moment for her entire career. The fleets are ready now, Mr. President. We've been running combat drills for decades. Every ship, every weapon, every crew member has trained for exactly this scenario. Then make them pay, Kang said quietly. Make them pay for every child they murdered, every family they destroyed. Show the galaxy what happens when peaceful people are pushed too far. Admiral Song saluted. Yes, Mr. President. What are my operational parameters? Complete destruction of all Velcron military forces. Occupation of their territory until they pay full reparations for New Busan. And Admiral? Kang's voice grew deadly serious. I want the entire galaxy to see this. I want every species out there to understand that attacking human civilians will result in total annihilation. Understood, sir. Song left the meeting and immediately headed for Luna Naval Base, where her flagship was waiting. The HSS Indomitable was humanity's most advanced warship, 5 kilometers long and bristling with weapons that could crack planets. It would serve as the command ship for the largest military operation in galactic history. As her shuttle approached the massive vessel, Song thought about the children of New Busan. She had seen their pictures in the intelligence reports. Kids who would never grow up, never fall in love, never have children of their own because of Velcran brutality. "Admiral on deck," the bridge crew called out as she entered the Indomitable's command center. Song took her position at the central command chair and looked out at the view screen. All around them, other ships were moving into formation. Hundreds of vessels, then thousands, then tens of thousands. The greatest fleet ever assembled by any species was preparing for war. "Communications. Open a channel to all fleet commanders," Song ordered. Moments later, she was looking at hundreds of screens showing the captains of humanity's warfleet. These officers had trained their entire careers for this moment. "Ladies and gentlemen," Admiral Song began, 2 weeks ago, the Velcran hegemony murdered 2.3 million innocent humans on New Busan. Children, teachers, farmers, engineers. People whose only crime was building a peaceful life on a distant world. The Yao faces on the screens grew hard with anger. "Today we show the galaxy that humanity's mercy has limits. We are not the helpless merchants they think we are. We are not the weak explorers they imagine. We are the inheritors of Earth, the children of a world that has survived ice ages, asteroid impacts, and global wars. We are humans, and we protect our own." Song stood from her chair. "Set course for Velcran space. All ships, maximum speed. It's time to collect the debt they owe us." Across the solar system, 500,000 dreadnoughts turned toward the stars and accelerated into hyperspace. The largest fleet in galactic history was going to war, and the Velcrons had no idea what was coming for them. The activation of Operation Righteous Thunder sent shockwaves through the hidden corners of the solar system. For 50 years, massive shipyards had waited in silence beneath Earth's oceans and on the dark side of Luna. Now, they roared to life, like sleeping giants awakening from a long dream. Admiral Dai-Yun Song stood on the bridge of the HSS Indomitable, watching her fleet assemble through the massive view screen. Each dreadnought was a masterpiece of human engineering, 5 kilometers of deadly metal and advanced technology. Their hulls were black as space itself, designed to absorb enemy sensor scans and make targeting difficult. "Admiral, the 7th battle group is reporting ready," announced Communications Officer Eugene Park. Song nodded. "What's their status, Captain Lim?" Captain Sung-Hwan Lim appeared on the communications screen from the bridge of HSS Retribution. He was a veteran of the border conflicts with pirates and raiders, though he had never seen combat on the scale they were about to face. "All 75,000 ships in my group are fully operational, Admiral," Lim reported. "Weapons charged, shields at maximum, crews ready for combat. We're eager to make the Velcrons pay for what they did to New Busan." "Excellent, Captain. What about the 23rd Siege Fleet?" Another screen lit up showing Captain Yoon-ji Ko aboard HSS Vengeance. Her ship was even larger than most dreadnoughts, designed specifically for breaking through heavy fortifications and destroying enemy bases. "My siege fleet is ready, Admiral," Ko said. "We have 50,000 heavy assault ships loaded with quantum, torpedoes and singularity bombs. If the Velcrans try to hide behind their space stations and orbital forts, we'll crack them open like eggs." Song smiled grimly. "Outstanding. Both of you maintain formation as we move toward the target system." As more and more ships reported ready status, the true scale of humanity's secret military became visible. The fleet stretched across space, for millions of kilometers, organized into precise battle formations that had been practiced in countless simulations. Logistics Coordinator Hyun-Soo Cha worked frantically at his station, managing supply lines that had to feed and fuel the largest war fleet ever assembled. "Admiral, all supply convoys are in position. We have enough ammunition to fight continuously for 6 months, and food supplies for 2 years." "Good work, Coordinator Cha. I want every ship to have everything it needs when we reach Velcron space." Intelligence Director Young-Sik Bae approached Song's command chair with a data pad full of enemy information. "Admiral, our spy networks have been busy. We know exactly where every major Velcran military installation is located. Song took the pad and reviewed the intelligence. Impressive work, Director. How many ships do they have in total? Best estimate is 50,000 vessels of all types. Their largest ships are about half the size of our Dreadnoughts, and their weapons technology is at least 30 years behind ours. Tactical Coordinator Su-Min Jiang looked up from her station. Admiral, those numbers mean we outnumber them 10 to 1, with superior firepower and better technology. This won't be a battle, it will be a slaughter. That's exactly what it should be, Song replied coldly. They showed no mercy to the civilians on New Busan. They will receive none from us. As the human fleet prepared to depart, other galactic powers began to notice something was happening in the solar system. Long-range sensors detected massive energy signatures and gravitational distortions that suggested enormous fleets on the move. Ambassador Kethlin of the Altruran Federation called an emergency meeting with her government's intelligence officials. The Altrurans were one of the older and more peaceful civilizations in the galaxy, known for their diplomatic skills and trade networks. Minister Veltar, Kethlin said urgently, our sensors are detecting impossible readings from human space. Energy signatures that suggest hundreds of thousands of ships moving at once. Minister Veltar, an elderly Altruran with silver skin and wise eyes, looked at the sensor data with confusion. That can't be correct, Ambassador. Humans only have a few dozen patrol ships and some cargo vessels. They're peaceful traders, not a military power. That's what we've always believed, sir. But these readings don't lie. Either our sensors are malfunctioning, or humanity has been hiding the largest fleet in galactic history. Similar conversations were taking place across the galaxy. The Zephyrian Collective's intelligence networks reported energy spikes from the solar system that made no sense. The Karathi Empire's military analysts stared at sensor readings that showed more ships moving at once than some species had built in their entire history. Back on the HSS Indomitable, Admiral Song received a special visitor. Hyojin Choi, one of the few survivors from New Busan, had been brought aboard to provide testimony about the massacre. She was a small woman with sad eyes, still wearing the simple clothes she had escaped in. Miss Choi, Admiral Song said gently, I know this is difficult for you, but I need you to tell my officers exactly what you saw on New Busan. Hyojin nodded and walked to the center of the bridge. The crew gathered around to listen as she spoke, in a quiet voice. I was a teacher at Primary School 7 in the main city. I had 43 students in my class, ages 6 to 10 years old. Her voice trembled slightly. When the attack began, we tried to get the children to the emergency shelters, but the Velcran soldiers were already in the streets. The bridge fell silent except for the hum of the ship's systems. They didn't care that they were children. The soldiers they just shot them. All of them. I watched little Kyung-min try to hide behind a desk, and they killed him anyway. 6 years old. Several of the crew members clenched their fists. Captain Lim's image on the communication screen showed barely controlled rage. The soldiers were laughing, Hyojin continued. They thought it was funny to chase terrified children through the school hallways. Their commander, the one with scars on his face, he gave orders to make sure nobody escaped. Admiral Song's expression was stone cold. Miss Choi, you will return to New Busan, and when you do, it will be as a free human on a free world, protected by the strongest fleet in galactic history. I give you my word. Hyojin looked up at the Admiral with tears in her eyes. Will you make them pay for what they did to my students? Yes, Song replied simply. We will make them pay for every child, every family, every innocent life they took. Systems analyst Min Jae-oh interrupted from his station. Admiral, all ships are reporting ready for hyperspace jump. Fleet formation is optimal. All weapon systems are charged and navigation computers have locked onto the target coordinates. Song returned to her command chair and looked out at the massive fleet surrounding her flagship. 500,000 human warships, each one crewed by people who had trained their entire lives for this moment. Each one carrying weapons that could destroy cities or crack moons. This is Admiral Song to all ships, she announced over the fleet-wide communication channel. In a few minutes, we will jump to hyperspace and begin our journey to Velcron territory. When we arrive, we will show the galaxy what happens when peaceful people are pushed beyond their limits. She paused, thinking of the children who had died on New Busan. The Velcrons believe that might makes right, that the strong can do whatever they want to the weak. Today they discover they were wrong about which species is truly strong. All ships prepare for hyperspace jump. The space around the human fleet began to shimmer and distort as hundreds of thousands of hyperspace generators powered up simultaneously. The effect was visible from Earth itself, a brilliant flash of light that marked the departure of humanity's war fleet. "Jump," Song commanded. In an instant, the largest armada in galactic history vanished into hyperspace, racing toward Velcron, territory at speeds faster than light itself. Behind them, Earth and the other human worlds prepared for what would either be humanity's greatest victory or the beginning of a galactic war that would reshape the known universe. The Velcrons had 3 weeks to enjoy their victory over New Busan. They had no idea that their time was almost up. The human armada's journey through hyperspace was like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. For 3 weeks, 500,000 dreadnoughts raced through the dimensions between stars, moving in perfect formation toward Velcron territory. Their passage disrupted space lanes across dozens of star systems as merchant ships and passenger vessels fled from the massive gravitational distortions. Fleet Commander Thekvar was reviewing reports about increased human shipping activity when his intelligence officer Sub-Commander Krelthak burst into his command center aboard the Velcron flagship Dominator. "Commander, we have an urgent report from our long-range scouts," Krelthak said, his reptilian features showing unusual concern. "There are massive sensor readings heading toward our territory from human space." Thekvar looked up from his tactical displays with irritation. "Define massive, Sub-Commander. Are we talking about a few dozen ships? 100, perhaps?" "No, sir. Our scouts report energy signatures suggesting hundreds of thousands of vessels. The readings are so large, our sensors think they must be malfunctioning." Thekvar's eyes narrowed. "That's impossible. Humans are weak traders with a few patrol boats. They wouldn't dare retaliate for New Busan. They know we would crush any force they could send." But even as he spoke, more reports kept coming in. Velcron listening posts throughout their territory detected the same thing. Enormous fleets moving through hyperspace at incredible speeds, all heading directly for the Velcron home system of Krathtar. Supreme War Leader Vorthkel, the highest military commander in all of Velcron space, called an emergency meeting of his war council. The massive alien stood nearly 3 meters tall, his dark scales scarred from decades of conquest. He had personally led the invasions of 17 worlds and never lost a battle. "Explain to me how a species of weak merchants suddenly has a fleet large enough to threaten us," Vorthkel demanded of his intelligence staff. "War Leader, we believe the humans have been secretly building ships while pretending to be peaceful," replied Intelligence Chief Mordak. "Our estimates suggest they may have as many as 50,000 vessels approaching our territory." Vorthkel laughed, a harsh sound like grinding metal. 50,000 human cargo ships against our war fleets? This will be easier than New Busan. Alert all military commands. Recall every ship to Krathtar. We'll destroy this pathetic human armada, and then finish conquering their remaining colonies." The Velcron military machine went into full mobilization. 50,000 warships, representing the accumulated might of a species that had conquered dozens of worlds, converged on their home system. Battle stations came online. Orbital fortresses charged their weapons, and millions of Velcron warriors prepared for what they thought would be an easy victory. 3 days later, the human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Krathtar system. The sight was beyond comprehension. A wall of human ships stretched across space, each one 5 kilometers long and bristling with weapons that glowed with barely contained energy. The fleet was so large, it blocked out entire sections of stars. The gravitational distortions from so many massive vessels caused space itself to ripple and bend. On the bridge of the Dominator, Thekvar stared at his sensor readings in disbelief. "This can't be accurate. Show me visual confirmation." The main view screen activated, showing the approaching human fleet. Thekvar's jaw dropped. Instead of 50,000 ships, he was looking at 500,000. Each human dreadnought was larger and more advanced than anything in the Velcran fleet. "Get me Supreme War Leader Vorthkel immediately," Tekvar ordered, with a trembling voice. Across the Velcran fleet, similar scenes of shock and terror were playing out. Velcran captains who had been confident about an easy victory suddenly realized they were facing the largest military force in galactic history. Admiral Dayun Song stood on the bridge of HSS Indomitable, looking at the Velcran fleet assembled before them. 50,000 enemy ships seemed pitiful compared to her armada, like fishing boats facing a hurricane. "Admiral, all battle groups report ready for combat," announced Communications Officer Yu-Jin Park. "Excellent. Open a channel to the entire Velcran fleet and every listening post in their territory. I want this message broadcast across their entire civilization." The human fleet's communication arrays powered up with enough signal strength to reach every corner of Velcran space. When Admiral Song spoke, her voice carried to every Velcran world, every military installation, every civilian population center. "I am Fleet Admiral Daun Song of the Human Stellar Defense Force. 3 weeks ago, your forces attacked the peaceful colony of New Busan. You murdered 2.3 million innocent civilians, including children, teachers, and farmers whose only crime was building a better life for their families." The transmission continued as images from New Busan appeared on screens across Velcran territory. Burned schools, destroyed homes, mass graves filled with human bodies. "You destroyed New Busan because you believed humans were weak. You thought our peaceful nature meant we could not defend ourselves. You mistook our kindness for helplessness. Today you learn the difference between choosing peace and being incapable of war." Song paused, letting her words sink in across the Velcran Empire. "Your Supreme War Leader will surrender unconditionally and submit to human occupation, or every military vessel in your fleet will be destroyed. You have exactly 1 minute to decide." The Velcran response came from Supreme War Leader Vorthkel himself. His scarred face filled the communication screens, showing his fanged teeth in a snarl of defiance. "Human scum! You dare threaten the mighty Velcran hegemony? We have conquered 17 worlds and crushed every enemy that faced us. Your pathetic fleet will be destroyed, and then we will hunt down every human colony in the galaxy. Admiral." Song's expression didn't change. "So be it. All ships open fire." The Battle of Krathtar lasted exactly 6 hours and 17 minutes. It was not a battle in any traditional sense. It was an execution. Human quantum torpedoes tore through Velcran shields like they didn't exist. The advanced alien defensive systems, which had protected Velcran ships for decades, simply couldn't handle weapons that tunneled through normal space at the subatomic level. Captain Seonghwan Lim's HSS Retribution led the main assault, its singularity cannons firing concentrated bursts of artificial black holes that collapsed entire Velcran battleships into microscopic points of infinite density. "Target destroyed," his weapons officer reported after each shot. "Target destroyed. Target destroyed." The pattern repeated across the entire battlefield as human weapons proved devastatingly effective against Velcran technology. Captain Yoonji Ko's siege fleet systematically dismantled every Velcran space station and orbital fortress in the system. Her massive ships surrounded each installation and fired quantum bombs that destabilized matter at the atomic level. Fortress walls that had been built to withstand centuries of warfare simply ceased to exist. Systems analyst Min Jae-oh coordinated the AI-assisted targeting systems that gave human ships their incredible accuracy. Every shot was calculated by computer systems that could process battlefield data faster than any biological brain could think. "All enemy positions identified and locked," he reported to Admiral Song. "AI targeting confirms 100% hit probability on all marked targets." War Captain Zethmore, the Velcran officer who had personally led the ground assault on New Busan, tried to ram his damaged ship into a human dreadnought. His vessel exploded harmlessly against the human ship's shields, adding one more small flash of light to the destruction-filling space around Krathtar. Supreme War Leader Vorthkel watched his mighty fleet being systematically destroyed from his command ship's bridge. Velcran vessels that had conquered worlds were being vaporized by weapons they couldn't understand, fired by ships they couldn't damage. War leader, we've lost 60% of the fleet, his tactical officer reported. Our weapons can't penetrate. They're shields, but their weapons cut through our armor like it's not even there. Forthkill tried one final desperate attack, ordering all remaining ships to concentrate fire on the human flagship. Thousands of Velcran plasma cannons and particle beams struck HSS Indomitable simultaneously. The massive human dreadnoughts' shields flickered slightly and then returned to full strength. Minimal damage to outer hull plating, reported the Indomitable's damage control officer. No casualties. Shields back to 100% efficiency. Admiral Song looked at the tactical display, showing the destruction of the Velcran fleet. Signal from Supreme War Leader Vorthkel, Admiral, Communications Officer Park announced. He's requesting permission to surrender. Tell him the time for surrender was before he murdered our children, Song replied coldly. There is no surrender. There is only justice. The final Velcran warship was destroyed at 1447 ship time. In less than 7 hours, humanity had completely annihilated a military force that had terrorized this sector of the galaxy for generations. As the wreckage of the Velcran fleet drifted in space around Krath Tar, Admiral Song's message to the galaxy was clear and unmistakable. Never again would anyone mistake human mercy for weakness.